So in this lesson, I just want to do some code cleanup, and yeah. So let's go down and take a look at the inside of our level generator script. We have this change ground movement, and inside of here we have some stuff going on. We have this change here, which changes our camera's field of view. We also have this little bit of code here that changes our physics, right? And maybe I should be, because we don't do a lot of commenting, we just do more responsive code, like making sure things are named right. But do more commenting throughout my videos, and I might do that so that we can, so it helps you, even though it'll make the videos a little longer, but it'll help to explain when you go back to look at the code. But I really do want you to just sort of do that on your own. All right, so some stuff I'm noticing inside of here, we have a min move speed, but we don't have a maximum move speed. So that's like where we can cap how fast things are going. We also don't have a minimum and maximum gravity, that we can take against speed amount. So let's go up top here. And I'm going to duplicate this 3 times. And one more time. And I'm going to just add a little space here. And then this is going to be our max move speed. And then we'll just name this min gravity or min physics. And then I'm going to copy this, change this to max physics speed. Actually, because we're playing with the gravity, the z value of the gravity here, and so instead of speed, let's change this to, let's just be very explicit. Like I said, we don't necessarily, so min gravity z, and then max gravity z. The reason for this is, like I said, in real world coding, you don't necessarily comment every line of code. You actually just make sure it's as explicit as possible. So this is the minimum gravity on the z-axis. This is the maximum gravity on the z-axis. All right, so max move speed, we'll take it up to something like 20, just throwing some values. Now remember, we want more gravity if we're pulling it down, and that's a negative value, like we're taking away from it. So we have to actually change this to a minus here. So we'll do minus 20, and then a max gravity would actually take us up. So I know it sounds like it's sort of inverted, but a minimum gravity is like, imagine that the less gravity we have with the higher characters going, like we're in space, and the maximum gravity pulls us back down. And then let's just make this one just a little bit less at minus 2, because, again, our max gravity, like we're sort of going deeper into the, so for the amount, like if we have a maximum gravity of 0, that means we have no gravity, right? And then we have a little bit of gravity at max is minus 20, minus 2. You'll see this once we implement it. All right, so now instead of using comments to let people know what we're doing, what we can do, which is pretty nice, is we can do use things called attributes. So for example, if I type in header here, and I say, these are our variable references, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S to save that, and I go back in here and I select my level generator. You can see now this references pops up, and it makes it look really clean. So I can actually comment that, grab this, and just say, gravity, speed. And if I save this, you can see now it breaks up my code pretty nicely so that people will be like, oh, okay, I see that these attributes here affect the gravity. This affects the speed. These are, let's see, this is our camera control. So I'll just hit Control D on this. Let's see, this is for our ground prefab, camera control. So anything in your script, you can break it out nicely. And actually kind of is impressive to your boss when they go and they look at your code and you've added these nice headers and you made the code really nice for other people to look at. So let's see. So these are referencing a specific prefab. So we could put all of those here. So there's our ground prefab. This is another ground parent. So I'm going to move this down. And then what I can do here is I can say, you know what? I'm going to, these are the reference objects here. Actually, let me just steal this camera controller. We don't really need it because it's referencing our camera controller, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But for this one, I could just say level settings. And then I can delete that speed. And now people know, okay, this has to do with all the level settings. And we go back inside of here. And these are referenced game objects that we drag inside of here. And then these are all of our level settings. And then this sort of affects our gravity. Depending on how much you want to kind of explicitly adjust that. Now notice also I saved this, it made these two. So you know when we go in here, we're going to have problems if we don't just go in and adjust these values because anything we do in our inspector supersedes what's inside the script. Now we have our ground length here, which is set to 10. And remember we were saying before that, there could be some potential issues with this. So you can do a tooltip here. And then inside of this say like, do not change. And then it's like, unless, because remember we set it to 10 because it's the size of our mesh, unless ground mesh side changes. So again, having tooltips like this, and this is pretty cool. So you might be like, well, where's the tooltip now, right? Well, if we look at level settings and we look under starting ground amount, look at that ground length keyword there. So when I move over it now, you can see do not change unless ground mesh size changes. So if I'm going in here to swipe or move this value, you can see it does that. It pops up. So that's kind of cool. All right, so now we've got all these variables here that we've added. Let's go ahead and go down to our change ground movement speed variable here, or section here, and let's add that code. Remember, they're just float values, so the math in here is going to be pretty simple. All right, so we have this here where we're doing move speed equals plus speed amount here. What we can do is we could start off by just creating a new variable, float value called new move speed. And what I like to do, and the reason these keep popping up where I'm refactoring code and I'm adding new variables to store things, is I like to get a little bit granular in my code and then I'll dial it back and clean it up later. So for example, this new move speed, if you remember, move speed here is how fast we're going, right? Speed amount is being passed in. So what I can do really quickly is I can save off those two values in my code. And this is what really our move speed plus the speed that's being passed in. If we add those together, that is really what the new move speed is. And now I can use this inside of my code here because it's storing whatever the new move speed is, which is constantly being updated when this value is being passed into change ground amount. Now, if I press F12 here, just as a reminder, you can see it shows me that where it's being called on the health pickup here. So a health pickup is passing that value in here, and inside of here, it's changing the ground's movement speed. So now we have the new movement speed at this variable that's always being updated. So let's go ahead and use that. Now what I can do with this variable is I can update it. I can say new move speed equals mathf.clamp. And remember, this takes three variables. What is it that we're trying to update, right? Well, what is the starting point? My new move speed. Well, what am I clamping in between? Well, I have that min move speed, and then I have that max move speed. And so now new move speed, which is the same as this one right here, is now storing this, it'll store a value, a single number that is between the two values, this min speed, and this max speed. And then we have new move speed here, which is equal to this value being put in there. So we're actually restricting that amount between two values here. Now with that actually gets rid of this whole move speed equals speed amount thing. And we could use this in our if statement. So what I can say here is let me go ahead and delete this. My new move speed, right, is not equal to, that means it's not the same. So that we do a not sign, then an equal to the move speed, right? Move speed, if you recall, we set that from the beginning, which is how fast our tiles are going. So here's our move speed. So if it's not the same, right, and we've got all this little bit of math going on. Again, don't worry too much if you don't understand it. You could always trace through it. If you're not a really big math person, get a calculator out and do this basic addition. You could also look up clamping. It's a really simple concept, but it just might be difficult because you're learning to code at the same time as learning these concepts, which are annoying. But if our new move speed, which is being calculated here, that's our move speed plus the speed amount coming in, is not equal to move speed, which generally is going to happen because this is always going on, but this is more of a check. We're going to do some logic inside of here. And what we're really doing is we're just taking new move speed here, and we're just making it equal to that. So it's saying if this is not the same as 10, then what we want to do is we want to update move speed to the new move speed. The reason we're doing that is because remember, this move speed is what's actually being used to move around, and we need to keep updating that value depending on different factors or conditions in our code. Now there's one more thing I want to do, and that's I want to do another variable, and it's going to be another float value. So float new gravity z, And all I'm doing is I'm clamping the value of my z-axis so it doesn't get too crazy. So this is the new gravity z, and it's equal to, just grab physics.gravity z by speed amount here, and I'll save this. And now I can use this new gravity z anywhere where that is being calculated. So I can grab this and then just replace this line of code. You know, let's see. Oh, you know what? It lives in this if statement. I might not be able to access it through here, actually. So actually, let me pass this into, let's grab this. Let's do the same thing before where we clamp that value. We're not going to use the inside. I'm just copying this. Here, let me just grab this. So we'll clamp this. Don't worry too much about that area that I just did. And we're going to clamp that between these two values, the min and gravity z. Start typing max gravity z. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to hold Alt and I'll just move this inside of here so that we can access that. I'm going to hit Control Alt Enter to kind of clean up my code a little bit. Now, I know that this might be still a little confusing for you, but believe it or not, everything I just explained, we sort of did before. All I did is I've added it to new variables, which I know can be kind of confusing. Again, trace through your code, comment it. I promise you, it's not as hard as, for some of you, it might be too easy, and you're like, why does he keep saying that? But remember, the class is on a kind of a sliding scale of people who are just doing this for fun, not necessarily, they're completely new to code, and others who are absolute rock stars. Now, another thing is, if you probably noticed that we're still having trouble with our field of view camera always changing based on speed amount. Well, we really only want to change that if this condition is met. That means move speed is not or new move speed is not equal to move speed. So I'm just going to move that changes our camera field of view code into here. And now when I go inside of here, our min and max gravity values should be clamped, all that stuff. So if I press play right now, hopefully I didn't break anything. Let's see, I'm gonna tumble over this. You can see our camera's moving good. I'm very slow at this point, so you can adjust that move speed variable. Boom, we're getting a little faster. Let's make sure that I select my, looks like it's not really updating. Where is that virtual camera? There we go. Our camera controller here. Here's our field of view. Oh, here it is, 80, okay. Oh, actually, it's not the code. It's, remember, we have to update this min max, this like the max movement speed, so that it, because remember this updates, and we have a 10 here, we have a 10. Okay, let's try this. This should work now, because we're clamping between our max speed and our min. So if we select this, yep, we're speeding up, we're slowing down, speeding up, speeding up. A lot of craziness going on, speeding up, speeding up. And actually, that might be a little bit excessive, like our how far our camera's out. So that's where you want to do stuff like, okay, again, select your virtual camera and say, maybe the max field of view should be 100. Let's try that. There we go. That's 100. This is bringing it out. Yeah, so now it's working. All right. And that's it. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next lesson.